Welcome to A Heart for Home Education. My name is America, mother to three, homeschooling in a Charlotte Mason and classical way. Today I'm sharing with you part two of my mother culture plans for 2025. So, if you watched part one, you saw some of the things that I was considering and thinking about and planning for my 2025. And now it is the new year, and I've put a lot more thought into those categories and my plans for 2025 in regards to mother culture, homemaking, homeschooling, and my reading list. So, I hope you grab a cup of something warm and let's chat about 2025. So I wanted to share some of the categories that I was talking about in my last video and just kind of fill you in on where I landed in thinking about those goals. So the virtue that I landed on is temperance, which is closely linked to self-control. I mentioned in the last video that I feel like I've grown a lot in this area, but I also feel like there's always room to grow. And I have a couple other areas in my life where I just need more temperance and self-control and restraint. And so that is the virtue that I want to learn more about and read more about and pray more in a focused way about that area of my life. A spiritual discipline that I have landed on that I want to focus more on in 25 is quietness and silence, and not necessarily pursuing solitude because that's not totally possible all the time as a mother, but pursuing moments of solitude and not feeling like I need to fill that solitude with noise or productivity, but just enjoying that solitude as a way to draw closer to the Lord in prayer and meditation. So I stumbled upon a speech by Elizabeth Elliot, and it was on keeping a quiet heart. I will try and remember to link it down below so that you can listen if you'd like to. And it was an incredible speech about how God uses moments of silence to pursue our hearts if we let Him, if we choose not to. I mean, in the language she was using, she was like, people carry around Walkmans and boom boxes now. And it was funny, but it was also like, how much more so do we pop in earbuds or play audiobooks or music or podcasts? Now, don't get me wrong, I love audiobooks and I also love filling our home with good music, but there are times that I need to work on just having a quiet heart and a quiet mind and a quiet home. And also, she talked about teaching our children how to be content with quiet. And so that's something that I want to focus on that kind of falls in my spiritual life and also some of the family things that I want to get to later. But that is keeping a quiet home. And to me, that goes along with temperance and self control because it's going to take a lot of self control for me to pursue silence rather than an audiobook, which is usually my go to. And so I'm going to have to be really intentional and have to show a lot of restraint and just self control in those moments where I am drawn to filling those moments with noise. And then a fruit of the Spirit, I always want to be bearing all the fruits of the Spirit. But one that I want to focus on this year is peace. And so I just want to pray more for peace. I think all of these things are closely linked. And of course, God doesn't categorize different parts of our soul and different parts of our beings. And I think that's a very modern way of looking at our souls. Of course, all of these things are intertwined. I hope that focusing on these things and praying more specifically for these things and maybe reading about these things will help me in this area of life. So now I'm going to skip down to the home category. So I talked about developing systems to keep our schoolroom clean and tidying that. So what I did was come up with what a perfect day would look like for me, like a perfect middle of the week school day. So I wrote down a bunch of times and what I would like to have accomplished in those times. And I want to try to stick to that schedule for 2 weeks and just see what happens. So a lot of the things on the schedule, of course, it's homeschooling and meal times and things like that. But there's also more windows in there of like intentional cleaning time with the kids, bringing the kids in to help me clean up as a team and not just bearing the load all by myself. And then there's also more times in there of intentional quiet time, intentional rest, intentional solitude, even just for a little bit. And so I want to try to stick to that schedule for 2 solid weeks and just see how it goes. Like, does it bear the fruit that I think that it will? And if so, hopefully that will encourage me to keep going. Or maybe I will see, like, this is not realistic or sustainable. So I should just kind of stop trying to grasp at this unrealistic, unattainable schedule. I think it is going to be the first one that it actually will bear the fruit that I'm hoping that it will. And so I hope to adopt that schedule if I can. And of course, it's more of a routine, less focused on the times and more focused on the rhythm and routine of the house. Another thing that is a very nitty gritty and measurable goal that I want to get better at this year with homemaking is cleaning my bathtub more regularly. It is a chore that I dread. I hate it. And if you have any tips on how to make it easier and like not so hard on your back and shoulders, I would love to hear your tip. Or if you have a favorite, what I like to do is fill up one of the like dish scrubber wands with a cleaning solution. If you have a cleaning solution that you like to use on your bathtub, let me know. But I want to get better at keeping up with the bathtub and not dreading it and putting it off and off and off. And so that is a very nitty gritty but measurable goal that I have. I want to be way more on top of that specific cleaning task. Let me know what your dreaded cleaning task is and if you plan to tackle that this year and be more on top of it, because I feel like as it piles up, it gets harder and I dread it more rather than just doing it a little bit at a time. So let me know what your cleaning task is like that. I know everyone's is different, but let me know in the comments below what yours is. And then this kind of falls on home and family, but I just want to be more diligent in teaching the children how to do these types of cleaning tasks all throughout the house, kind of leveling up their chores. They've been doing well with their current chores and just kind of leveling those up, teaching the younger ones how to do things that the older one is doing now. So that's kind of a cross between home and family goals. Next up for family was an idea that I talked about earlier from the Elizabeth Elliot speech that I was listening to about teaching our children to enjoy and appreciate and be content with silence. So working my way up to having the kids have like a true silent quiet hour that doesn't involve music or audiobooks, even if that's just 5 more minutes a day, even if we just get up to like 30 minutes of that, I think that would really benefit all of us to have a truly quiet house and then maybe transition into a time where there's music or audiobooks allowed for a quiet time. But that's something that I am interested in pursuing and also helping them along in their own personal prayer lives. So right now the ages that they are is 9, 7, and 5. And of course, my 5-year-old is still fully in our training. I mean, they all are, but I would like to encourage my older ones to develop their own prayer habits and prayer life. And of course, we're still going to be doing everything together as a family, but also just encouraging that spiritual habit in them at an early age, I think will benefit them. So those are kind of all of the updates that I have for those categories that I was still kind of thinking through in my last video. Those are the updates of the ones that I'm willing to share. And so that is kind of a wrap on my 2024 planner. I'm going to transfer all of those goals into my new planner, which is, I did end up with the Lecterm 1917 planner. And I'm going to link my Mother Culture Amazon storefront down below, just because it's a very easy way to put all of the links to the things that I'm going to be sharing and talking about in one place, and it also helps out my family. So if you're interested in shopping there, you can. This, as far as I know, through Amazon is mostly unavailable in most of the colors that I could see, but you can find it elsewhere. Or also this moleskin one I still love, and after receiving the lectern one, I think I still prefer the moleskin one, but this is a very, very similar layout, and I think I'm going to enjoy it. I just prefer the feel, the look, the font, and the size of this one. And this one did not have many extra notebook pages like I thought it would. So that's just if you are looking for a planner. So let's talk about the books that I am planning on reading. I am going to go with the Scolay Sisters 5x5 challenge. So what that is, I should have printed a bigger one so you can see. What that is they recommend that you pick 5 different categories and then read 5 books from each category. So they have little free printables on their website. They talk about it a lot on their podcast. And so it's not necessarily a book list, but it's just a recommended reading challenge. I know there are a lot of different versions of reading challenges out there, and I would encourage you to look and find one that suits your needs. But I like the freedom of this 5x5 challenge. It, to me, it meshes like freedom and a plan. So that is right up my alley. So the 5 categories that I picked are classics, theology, and then the third category is homemaking, parenting, and marriage. And then the fourth one is education, and that's like me educating my children. And then the fifth one is just miscellaneous, want to read. There's still going to be good books, but just things that like they don't really fit in the categories, but I still really want to read them. Before I jump into what I am planning to read, I just want to share that I am very flexible with this plan. I'm not following like a rigorous course of study. I am just trying to fill my mind with good things and good literature. I do want to challenge myself, but I also really want to enjoy my reading and not feel like it is this heavy burden that I've placed upon myself or that someone else is placing on me. That's not how I want my reading life, my literary life to be. I want to really enjoy reading. So some of the classics that I've looked up, I'm like, I'm sure it's a great book, and maybe I will develop a taste for that as the years go by. But right now, it doesn't seem to be something that I'm interested in. So, with all that said, these are the books that I am picking. So, for classics in the first category, I want to read Anna Karenina, and then I want to listen to one Shakespeare play per month. And then I want to read Grapes of Wrath, Wuthering Heights, and Jane Eyre. Those are my 5 classics that I hope to get to this year. Let me know if you've read any of those, if you have any thoughts about any of those, or anything that maybe you think I would enjoy more. But so far, that is what my list is at. So for my theology category, the first one that I have is a missionary story, and it is Evidence Not Seen. This is the story of a woman's miraculous faith in the jungles of World War II. My absolute favorite genre of literature is historical fiction set during the World War II era. I don't know why, I just love books like that. I read a ton last year and the previous year, so I'm trying to take a break so that I can develop taste for other genres. But I thought this, being a true missionary story, would fit into this category well, but also be something different and inspiring. So this is one that I am excited to read. This is by Darlene Diebler-Rose, which I think is like a biography of, I think it's written by her, by the missionary. So this is one I've had my eye on for a while, and I'm really excited to jump into this one this year. The next book on the list is What It Means to Be Protestant by Gavin Ortland, and this is one that was sent to me by a friend. This book looks interesting, and it looks like maybe it will answer some of the questions I have about church history. And then a couple other theology reads that I have on my list are Mere Christianity and The Weight of Glory by Lewis. I might just pick one of those. If you've read those, which one would you recommend I start with? And then The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. I did not write down the author, but I will try to put a picture of it, or it will be in my Amazon storefront. I don't know who told me about that book, but it has been on my to be read list for a long time. So I finally wanted to tackle that book. And then The Four Cardinal Virtues by Josef Pieper. I actually started this book last year, but I checked out a ton of books from the library at once, and then they all were due back, and I was beginning most of them, so it didn't really go well. I need to just be focused when I check out books and not get overzealous and check out too many and then have to return them. I really loved what I had read from that one, and I want to finish that one up this year. And then for the homemaking, parenting, and marriage category, I have on here The Hidden Art of Homemaking by Edith Schaefer. I am really excited to read this one. And then I want to finish up the marriage book by Tim and Kathy Keller. I love Tim Keller and his writing and his sermons especially, and I am about a quarter of a way through that book, but I just have not finished it, and so I would love to finish that one. And then the next one is Amusing Ourselves to Death. This is by Neil Postman. This kind of falls in the homemaking. This is kind of like my practical category. Like these are my practical reads. So this one falls squarely into that because it's talking about kind of our technology use and ways that that impacts our lives. So that's very practical. And then another one is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. This is one I'm really excited about, kind of the same idea, falls right into that practical category. It's hard to say much about these books because I have not read them yet. So I have heard about them, and I wish I would have kept track of like where I heard about these or like who recommended them. But this is one that I've heard of in a couple of different places. But I'm really excited to dive into these ideas more, and I feel like they go really well with my focus on quiet and pursuing quiet. And then the last one is I moved this from my miscellaneous, just want to read, up into my homemaking and parenting and marriage category. This is one I've wanted to read for several years and just haven't been able to, but that is Pocketful of Pine Cones by Karen Andriola. She is the woman who wrote Mother Culture, one of my favorite books that I'm still working through, and it's just packed full of amazing insight and encouragement for homeschooling mothers or mothers that aren't homeschooling yet would enjoy it as well. But this is a narrative story that she's written that's kind of like a living book for mothers. And so I'm really excited to read this one. And then in my education category, I actually have multiple books in here taking up one spot, and that would be the Mason series, all of Charlotte Mason's volumes on audio. So I just purchased the complete audio collection on Living Book Press. They did some beautiful recordings of the Charlotte Mason volumes with a talented voice actor. So I know Mason's books are all on LibriVox, but I really struggle to enjoy listening to them because some of the recordings are really poor quality, or I feel that the narration is kind of poor quality. And it's also kind of jarring to have a different narrator for each chapter. And I also don't love the app. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't like listening to the Mason books on LibriVox, even though they are free there. And there are no versions on Spotify Premium or on Hoopla. So I went ahead and purchased this audiobook collection from Living Book Press. And so that is going to take up a lot of my audiobook listening time. And I'm really excited to enjoy listening to those. And then up next in this category is Beauty in the Word. This one I believe is recommended by Autumn Kern from The Commonplace. And this one is about classical education. So I think I said in my last video that I really want to dive deeper into classical education and implementing principles into our homeschool. So this is one that I have on my list. The next one along the same vein is Consider This by Karen Glass. And she is talking about how Charlotte Mason and classical education go together, as far as I know. I haven't read the book, so I'm not sure. And then the next one I've already started as well, and that is Love What Lasts by Joshua Gibbs. And that is about teaching ourselves and teaching our children to love the things that last and endure the test of time and that are actually true and good and beautiful, and helping us to acquire those tastes for ourselves and instilling those tastes into our children. And then the final one, I believe, is recommended by Autumn Kern as well, but that is The Great Tradition by Richard Gamble. And so that's, I believe, probably just an overview on classical education. If you've read any of those books, let me know, and let me know what you've thought of them. Or if you plan to read those and they're on your list, let me know. And then the last category, my miscellaneous just want to read category, is the Anne of Green Gables series. So I finished Anne of Green Gables last year, and then I am currently on Anne of Avonlea, and I just want to keep going until the series is over. The next one is Kristen Lavenstrater. That is one that I've heard a ton about, and it's on various lists, but I really don't know much about it. I have started it on 2 different occasions, which sort of worries me that I haven't been hooked on it on 2 different occasions. And so, if you've read this, is this like a really challenging read? Does it take a while to get into it? I really want to try to get into it. I've heard really good things, but I'm a little nervous that I will drop it again. So let me know what you thought of that book if you have read it. And then the next one is Joe's Boys by Louisa May Alcott. I just love her writing. I love Joe, and I'm ready to read more. So I'm excited to read that one. And then the next one is another series, and that is C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy. This sounds so interesting to me. I'm not a huge sci-fi reader. I haven't been yet, but I love Lewis, so hopefully that makes up for it. But I'm really interested and intrigued and excited to read this. And then the final one in this category is the Screwtape Letters, another Lewis novel. So I am looking forward to reading this one. So what I'm going to do with this list, I made it so that it prints 2 up to 1 page, and I kind of zoomed out as well. I'm going to cut this out, both of these out, and tape them or glue them into the back of my planner, because it was kind of crazy trying to manage a binder and my planner. I really use this mostly day to day. So I am going to cut this out and make these accessible in my planner. So if you noticed, this is not just 25 books. A couple of these lines have multiple books in the series. Like the Space Trilogy obviously has 3 books in it. The Anne of Green Gables series, I still don't know how many are in that book, but I know it's multiple books. The Mason series is 6 separate volumes. I probably won't listen to them all. Also, if a book comes along throughout the year that I'm really interested in, or that I think is a better fit than one of these, then I am not afraid to just swap it out. Like I said, I'm not answering to anyone. This is really just for my own benefit. I do try to remember that I picked these for a reason, but usually saying yes to one book means saying no to another. So I am aware of that, but I also want flexibility and freedom because this is just a book list. So this list will probably get longer throughout the year as I hear about other books that I want to read. And so I'm just going to add them to this page as I go. Last year, I think I read about 45 books, and that may seem like a lot, that may seem like a little. If it seems like a lot, I want to remind you the season of life that I'm in. I have 3 kids, ages 9, 7, and 5, who all sleep through the night and sleep in until a reasonable hour. While parenting is still challenging, I'm not constantly keeping toddlers or babies alive. So I have a lot more mental space and clarity to pick up a book when I'd like to. So this year, I hope to read about the same, maybe a little bit more, if I am more diligent with my time and my schedule. So let me know what's on your Mother Culture book list for 2025, or about any of the goals that you're setting for yourself or your home or your family for 2025. I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you've thought of them. Good or bad impressions, please let me know. What are the classics that you're reading, or what are the categories that you're reading this year? I would just love to know and have a good discussion about it. Please check out my Amazon storefront if you're interested in seeing any of the books that I have mentioned today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope your holiday was amazing and that getting back into the swing of homeschool in the new year has been peaceful. I know for me, the holiday has been amazing, but I am ready to get back to the schedule of our regular lives, because we work hard to create a life that we don't need to escape from. And so I am excited and looking forward to starting school up with the kids. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.